Hello friends, this is Ed again, and we're in the my YouTube channel called Atheist, a Bird with No Cage, and today is June the 1st of 2021. Wow. And you've heard me say before that my age thing, I always have this disagreement with my wife that she tells me I don't need to say my age, but I tend to do that. When we started making these videos, I was 78 and now I'm 81. We don't have 4 years in, but this is early into, or late maybe in my 3rd year of doing these. Okay, again, I'm going to be really shotgunny, but I have this basic idea that I'm thinking about. One of the huge problems I see with religion is I think all of the ones that I've looked at so far tend to be very authoritarian. I might have to take a step back on one. If you talk about Buddhism, some forms of Buddhism, there may be not so much the authoritarian thing, but maybe I don't have to step back so much because they've still got people, even though they may not have a deity, there's still people in the organization whom you are expected to follow and not question or that sort of thing. So maybe I can just make that statement broadly, is that I think one of the huge problems with religion is the idea that they are all authoritarian. In other words, there is an authority that you follow unquestionably, and that's it. In the religions that we talk about, particularly Christian religion, of course, the ultimate authority is this God who they believe exists, and I'm of course maintaining that we have no evidence that is at all convincing that it even exists. So I'm an atheist. I don't believe that there's any authority to follow in the first place. But my point is, even if there was an authority, even if existed this deity, I still don't see any reason to follow, obey, or worship. One of the outcomes of that kind of thought is in discussions with, or discussions that I've heard or had with theists, is they say, well, one of the problems with you, meaning me, is that even if you had absolute proof that the God exists, you're still basically saying that you wouldn't follow that God. And that's been my stance. Absolutely true. The God could come down and stand here right now and say I'm God, prove it. Okay, God, walk across the pool, walk on top of the water across the pool. That'll do it. That'll make me believe that you are who you say you are. So he does that, walks across the pool. Wow, cool. Okay, so you're God. And he says, Okay, so now are you going to follow me and obey my rules? And not yet. We have a conversation to have first. I'd like to ask about some of the rules that you claim, and we'll find out if they are your rules. For example, are you the guy in the Bible? If you say yes, well, wow, I got a long list of questions, including your book clearly says that anybody who doesn't believe, doesn't follow you, is going to go to hell. Is that true? So, you know, the whole point is that, I mean, the point is, I would, if somebody says, well, do you believe in God now? Absolutely, I just talked to him. He just walked across the water and showed me that was evidence enough for me that it was God, it is God that I'm talking to. But that still doesn't mean I'm going to follow the rules. I mean, if it turns out to be, and actually the way the story appears to me, that if this guy specifically in the Bible actually exists, he is a freaking monster. Horrible ideas about morality and the way we should live our lives and so on. Just horrible. So, no. Just because I believed that it was real. And it seems to me it's an argument that we can make with Christians or whoever believes in a deistic religion, like besides Christianity, we have the Islamic religion, for example. Just because they believe that this God is real, we still have to question, question the rules. I mean, right off the bat, in the Islamic religion, you have to have women saying, is it your rule, and do you stand by the rule that we women have to cover our faces and cover our whole bodies and all of that kind of thing? And I mean, just on that one thing alone, if I were a woman, I'd say, well, if you hold with that, I'm not going to follow you. Sorry. So, this morning, the only reason I brought up that kind of thing is this, I think two sides of discussions, especially in areas of religion, but also in politics, for example, is those who believe in authoritarian religions or politics, and those who believe in individual rights, i.e., I as an atheist hold with my right to examine the evidence and first of all point out that I don't have enough evidence to believe in any deity, so I'm not going to. When I get the evidence, then I'll believe, sort of thing. But also, the other part of it is, even if that deity does exist, I'm not going to follow, worship, or whatever that deity without a whole lot of explanations. And I think that some of the questions are, it's one of the reasons that I not only say I don't believe, but I'm pretty damn sure, I'm convinced that no gods exist. How could somebody, some entity that has that much intelligence and everything possibly think that it's a good idea for that women should be denigrated and some people should be, well, both of those, like Christianity and the Muslim religion, they both have a hell. I think that even if we agreed that what the people do here on earth are crimes, that the punishment for those crimes could be an eternal thing about suffering, you know, eternal punishment for finite crimes. So I think it's a really important thing. I'm concerned in conversations with a brother that I'm really close to. I think he's getting, he might be getting a little bit angry with me because we've been discussing the political situation in Canada. And it looks to me like the Canadian government is using what's happening in this maybe improperly named, but pandemic is what they call it. It's all of the news, and they're going by the idea that this is a worldwide thing and it's killed a whole bunch of people, and they're using that to control people in ways that are just authoritarian and have nothing to do with individual freedoms. And I'm terrified. Well, I wouldn't say terrified is the right word. I don't live in Canada anymore, and I don't in any sense consider myself a Canadian, except that that's what my passport says. I live in Mexico, and this is, I think of myself as Mexican. But it still seems a threat, a huge threat to all my Canadian friends and family and everything, that we have a government that looks like they may be using this thing to set up rules about, you know, where you can go. They've already got rules about meetings, controlling meetings. That's suspect. When you look at any authoritarian political systems, they all do that, control the people's ability to meet. If we look at, you know, North Korea, or the what was socialist Cuba, or Russia, all of those countries, one of the things, they have huge controls over people, like the ability to, or they control the ability to meet and for people to organize. And now, and also, one of my brother's points is, well, every country needs borders. Yeah, but borders shouldn't be something that we use to keep you inside. And it looks like now, for example, if you're a Canadian and you live in Canada, I say, you basically cannot leave the country. They say, oh yeah, I can leave. Well, yes, you can leave, but then there's a big penalty about getting back in. Yeah, you can come back in, but you've got to do this thing with quarantining and anything. And the bottom line is that it basically stops people from leaving the country because of the problem of getting back in. How is that different from just saying, don't leave the country, or you can't leave the country? Okay, I don't know where we're at. time-wise. How's our time? That's long enough for today, so I'm going to say, by the way, just before we stop, I'm going to say, I am Ed. This is Atheist, a Bird with No Cage. I'm 81 years old. I don't know why I say that. Maybe, if anybody knows about atheist YouTubers or YouTubers, period, of any ilk, whether you're religious or atheist or whatever, do you know of any YouTubers, active YouTubers, that are as old as I am or older? Because maybe I'm not claiming it yet, but I'm challenging, is there any YouTubers that are older than I am? Anybody that's 81 or more, I'd love to hear from you. Or if you know about somebody that's a YouTuber that's, say, 81 or more, please let me know. On the lead page of my channel, there's a telephone number. And by the way, if you're in Canada, the United States, or Mexico, and you phone me, I'll phone you back and thereby take on whatever charges for the conversation. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Thanks a lot. That's Ed, Atheist, a Bird with No Cage, and that's all for today, and we'll see you in the next one.